joined with I normally introduce my guests as special guests, but today I'm going to say I'm introducing a mediocre guest, Mr. Chris from Hereticals. Thank you so much for joining me today, Chris. How are you doing tonight?
It's all right. I'm
Ciao.
happy. I'm happy. I'm happy to be the most mediocre guest you could have
And I do want to say one thing.
in good company, of course. Yeah.
Very special thanks for keeping your camera off, so I don't have to stare at your face this whole time. So thank you for that. I do have a house cleaning something in order, so I do want to put this up, and I just want to make sure that you're not streaming on your channel. Okay, you're not. So anyway, welcome. Thank you so much. Seriously.
No, don't worry. We'll be doing a watch along and react video afterwards. Don't worry.
After show.
Ready.
Okay. Yeah. So actually, I thought today would be kind of funny. By the way, cheers to whatever you're drinking on that end.
Cheers, mate.
What did you say you're drinking?
I've got just a nice easy Glenfiddich 12.
All right. So I thought we'd do a public service announcement. Are you okay with that?
Depends what it is.
Okay. Well, here's what we do because people from down under.
Hang on 1 second. Hang on 1 second. You are cutting in and out. It's real. I don't know if it's just me that's getting you cutting in and out, or I know there's a couple of people in the chat who are listening. Is it just me that's getting him really scratchy, or is it everyone? If anyone wants to talk.
Well, Chris, let me give you 1 minute to introduce your channel, and I will be right back to plug in the landline. So just go ahead and take the reins for a quick minute.
He's left me in charge of his channel. This could be fun. I will behave though. Look, I'm pretty sure everyone who's here knows who I am because looking at the chat, it's all my crew. But for those who are watching in the future, Chris from Hereticals. Hereticals is a podcast. I'm an atheist. It's generally secular, but we talk about a lot of things and we have fun. So that's pretty much it. Yep, good to see it is not me.
Okay, you there?
Yeah, so it was your audio. The chat said that you were really choppy.
Okay.
Which is probably good because that means people didn't have to listen to you.
Good one. I've heard. Is that better? I've heard that the Brits and the Aussies are really cheeky, as you guys like to say. So anyway, let's do a public service announcement. So I'm going to give you an Australian word, and you give me the American equivalent. Okay, got that? Okay, here we go.
Sure.
Bloke. What is bloke?
Either a male or, I guess, a friend, or
Friend?
it
Okay.
can be used, if someone could be a good bloke, just a bit of a knockabout.
Okay, and what about Sheila?
Sheila. Now, that's an interesting one. So that was a term for women that was used probably predominantly back in the 70s, maybe even a bit to the 80s. It hasn't aged well. I'll put it this way. If you called my wife a Sheila, she'd probably tell you to fuck off.
Okay, watch your profanity. Okay, I got you.
Oh, sorry. Is this a no language? Because I know we were swearing before. Sorry, if there's no language, mate, I'll apologize right now.
No problem. If you slip one or two here, then no biggie. But I know in Australia, you guys use the C word or the F word like it's a comma.
Yeah, I don't so much. It's more, it's probably the F bomb. But I'll put it this way: it's if you were talking to my wife, calling her a Sheila will be more offensive than dropping an F bomb.
Okay. All right. What about shite? What does shite mean?
Shit.
Okay. And what about a chap?
Shit with an E. Sorry, what was that one?
Chap.
Chap. That's an English term. It's not an Aussie term.
Oh, okay, it's not an Aussie term. Okay, all right. So before we get started, I was wondering real quick if you could tell me if you saw a video that I sent you, done by Shane the Skeptic of Oz's Tang Atheist Network, the roundtable thing. Any chance you're able to see that?
Yeah, I watched it.
Okay, so I'll give a real quick summary. Shane is he's one of the hosts, or I guess he was one of the hosts at Oz's channel, which is predominantly.
I'm just going to say, I'm just going to really quickly say, I didn't know you were going to bring that up. Oz is a mate of mine. I know you don't get along with him.
No, that's not.
So
that's
if
not
it turns into an Oz bash, I'll
yeah. No, not at all. No.
Okay.
No. The point is that because this isn't specifically about his channel, but it's about just being frustrated with the atheist community as a whole. He didn't specifically mention Oz or anyone else, but I think there's just in the video he had a frustration about the atheist community as a whole. So I was wondering if you could give me your insights on that video. What you thought?
Well, the atheist community is like every other community. You have, it's full of people. You've got good people, you've got bad people, nice people, you've got assholes. You've got people who get along with each other. You've got people who don't get along with each other. You have internal arguments, just like anywhere. It is no different to any other community. And look, it's always sad when someone feels that they need to vocalize it the way he did. I know I've vocalized my frustrations with aspects of the atheist community as well. I think that there is certain elements of it that I'm not comfortable with. I think that there's certain elements where I think maybe the community has been infiltrated by people who would prefer to, who basically use the guise of atheism for other political means. But I mean, look, it's a community. People are going to have their issues with it. I remember when I was in the church, people would very publicly leave churches. It happens. People are people.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. I'm comparing both the Christian.
Hey, incidentally, is Dawn Hub one of yours or one of mine?
He is a. Let's think. Why is he denying God? He's an atheist pastor. Let's see. I'll answer these real quick. There you go. He was in the church. Okay, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Yeah, he's a witch actually. He's like a Harry Potter witch, literally.
Oh, okay. So this is someone you actually know.
Yeah.
One of my mates having a bit of a laugh with me.
He's from the UK actually, and he's been on a few times. I just interviewed him about I believe about the Queen and the Crown. So do you actually celebrate or endorse like the Crown? And I know you guys say God bless the King or whatever, but or save the Queen.
No, we don't. We don't say God bless the Queen.
I know.
God save the Queen is that's the British national anthem. It used to be the Australian one up until the 70s. Look, there's it's probably a reasonable split between monarchists and Republicans here. I'm a monarchist. I'm a big fan of the Queen. I love the royal family. That's a personal preference.
Charles,
that being said, I was for a period of time in the Republican movement, but I don't think that the Republican movement in Australia is a good one, and I prefer the monarchy. And I've always loved the royals, even when I was sort of a bit more leaning towards a republic. I've always loved the royals.
So to this day, then do you consider yourself kind of somewhat of a unique position to have such a? I know you say it's kind of split, but you seem to be very enthusiastic about it. Is that kind of a rare position?
I'm probably more enthusiastic than most, but look, it's generally if it went to look, there was a referendum held about 20 years ago, whether we'd become a republic or not, and the monarchy won by a lot. If it was held now, it probably would be a bit closer, but the there's more people who would say let's remain a monarchy under the or in the Commonwealth than become a republic.
Yeah, I really.
Sorry, I just want to point something out. Godless Scummer is correct, except Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew would turn everyone into a Republican. Same with Harry. If Harry and Meghan, no interest there.
Well,
but
I
can tell you when it was Prince William's wedding, we had Yorkshire pudding, a good roast, wow. And we had some Pims and watched the wedding. It was a big deal.
Well, I do have to say this, Chris. I believe that Meghan Markle was the best thing to come out of England since Oasis. So that's my personal opinion.
Well, what? Because she left? Because she left. Meghan
no, because she's from America. She's American. Okay. Anyway, all right. Enough jokes out of the way. But
Wallace
I do
want to second. Historians will get that one. I said she's Wallace Simpson the second, and historians will get that one, and probably Jeff.
Okay. Hey, I do have something quick to show you. I think this is hilarious, so let's go ahead and play it.
You learn martial arts together?
Yeah.
And
I had this guy's sword.
Well?
I know him. He was never talkative. I remember in school. He used to sit by himself and read books. I was just this guy fooling around and having fun. He was just reading. You were asking questions. You answer with his head. Yeah, no, What's your name? No. What? Is that a name? Shake of my head is not a name. Please say your name. And by recess, you're just this guy hanging out. His mother always picked him up from school. He's that type of guy until he was 20. His mother picked him up from school.
Okay, what do you think about that? Have you ever seen those guards there in England?
I've never been to England, so.
Oh, okay. I'm actually thinking about visiting there this summer, or I'm sorry, this fall, because I do have one of my atheist co-hosts is from there. So anyway, let's get right to these questions.
You guys to go through with Godless Scummer. He'll take you to a football game.
Absolutely,
won't you, Jeff? You're there in the chat, Jeff. You take him to a football game.
Absolutely. Actually, I have two hosts from the UK. But okay, let's get into these questions.
I've never seen any of these. I've never seen any of these other hosts. You keep talking about them. I've never seen them.
They're there. You've never seen them?
No.
They're there. You got to know. Yeah. Actually, so one of the guys just had a child, and one of them moved into a. He got kind of frightened about the kind of like global collapse that was going on, and so he bought like an RV and sold his house and like moved into there. So he's kind of like off the grid right now. And I said the other guy just had a baby, so they are a little bit scattered around. So other priorities that came up. But the other guy, there's definitely a couple from the UK. But anyway, I do want to get into these questions. And first and foremost, I do want to ask you, what has been your own personal experience inside of the atheist community? Do you think even that's a misnomer to say like the atheist community? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think it's accurate to call it the atheist community. I think it's a very broad term. I think there's a lot of sub communities within the community, just like saying that you're a part of the Christian community, but that certainly doesn't mean that you're associating with every Christian out there. Look, my experiences have, on the whole, been positive. I've met some people who will be lifelong friends. Well, I hope they'll be lifelong friends. Certainly that's my intention. I've had some good experiences. I've had some bad experiences. I've met some complete douchebags. Actually, I've met some giant douchebags. But
just don't use the C word. Don't use the C word to describe them.
See, if you had my best mate on, he would use that, but he's Scottish. I very rarely use that word. I more drop the F-bomb.
Scottish.
The Scottish will drop it at the drop of a hat. But look, all in all, the atheist community, and from my experience, it is a very positive one. There are negative aspects like there are in any community because people are people. But there's hell of a lot more positive than negative.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I would have to say the same exact thing about the Christian community that I've encountered. Unfortunately, being completely honest, I would have to say I've had far more negative experiences with Christians than I have had positive. I
Yeah,
went,
I know that feeling.
yeah, I went to Bible college my freshman year, and to appease my parents. But that experience genuinely turned me into an atheist. And then later on in my life, I'd wind up digesting like 150 sleeping pills and how to spend like, I don't know, 3 or 4 days in the hospital. And I was like searching for God. And so I decided to go this time on my own accord and not to appease my family. And same exact experience. So those people just turned me right into an atheist. So, and I do want to say something, Chris. You may, in the past, you've criticized me for talking a bit about myself and maybe trying to make myself a center of a conversation, but that's really not my intentions. Really, my intentions are to try to show that, look, these are human, real life issues that we're struggling with. So, as we talk about things like mental health or whatever's going on in people's lives, like we got to absolutely understand that these are real life situations that people are being hurt, people are being harmed. And so whenever I throw things out about my own personal life, my own traumas and addictions of the past, it is generally to try to throw out a net to try to be open and honest about myself, not to brag on myself.
We're a social species, and we form bonds by sharing common interests and common stories. So it's a natural thing. Look, I won't go into my criticism in the past because I think that the conversations we've had recently, I think we've moved past that.
Sure.
I'm not going to dredge up issues from the past. What I actually will say is I respect that you are acknowledging that. And if it's something you're aware of, it's something you're working on. So, I'll give credit where it's due.
Yeah, I genuinely thought you and Scummer were extremely far more charitable than I think most people are in evaluating the conversation that I had with Jay. I mean, generally speaking, that's what I really hate is just the lack of charity that exists on either side, And there's people like, I'll call him DD. I genuinely hate using the name, but I don't want to dox him. But you know exactly who I'm talking about. I just hate calling him that name. But people like that are bad faith actors, and they are generally.
I think everyone knows his name by this point.
Right, but I felt extremely bad because it was not my intention to dox him on Mr. Scummer's channel, so that was not my intention. Yeah. I genuinely assumed everybody knew his name, so that was the reason why I did that. The point being is that people like him are genuine bad faith actors, and they're out to hurt people. So that's not my intention. And
yeah, so look, I'm a little bit. I could go either way on that. I'm not a fan of doxing because I've had it happen to me. Originally I came into the atheist community as atheist pastor and kept my own, I guess, my name and everything private, and actually got threatened with being doxed and ended up doxing myself. It was probably the best thing I ever did because it took the power away. Not that I was going to let them have any power anyway, but I took control of it. Look, I think with someone like a Darth Dawkins.
Oh, you said if you say his name 3 times, he appears. So that's one.
Hey, I can assure you, you are safe as houses with me here. Darth Dawkins is petrifying to me. Darth Dawkins.
Okay, he's going to appear.
Yeah, that's fine. No, Darth Dawkins is afraid of me because I absolutely demolished him in that debate. And ever since, he went from regularly trying to troll me to then just whinging about me, saying, because I got him.
Okay.
Even his own supporters were saying, no, you lost that one. So he doesn't. He fears me, not the other way around. Take control of the situation.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just not my brand of talking to people, and I'm very charitable in my discussions. And then also, this will be the last thing I promise I mention about this because I know you want to move on. I want to move on, but you'd asked me why I want why I desire to have conversations with atheists. At the end of the day, we're inhabiting this planet together. You know, for good or bad, we got to learn to try to get along and work and even work together. You know, actually, just last night I was listening to Skeptic Generation, and you know they were talking about my favorite atheist, Colin, but they were talking about, you know, working hand in hand with believers who are not using their nonprofits to like proselytize. And I think that's great. You know, like if there's humanitarian purposes, like we can come under the same banner of saying whatever we might disagree with, like people are starving, people are hurting, and we could set aside some differences and, you know, just work together. So I do want to get into these questions, though.
I'll clarify. I'm just going to quickly clarify. The reason I was asking you, and this isn't me dredging up history or anything. This is I'm just clarifying. The reason I did bring that up was because at the time you were saying you wanted to have conversations with atheists, but then you were, you know, fairly aggressively calling atheism a cult, attacking. And look, whether it was tongue in cheek or whether it wasn't, it sort of made me go, well, okay, if you think that there's all these problems, what's your purpose here? Are you trying to convert? Why do you want to have these conversations? Because I didn't think you were genuine in the reason you were having the conversations. But
well, see, the thing is, though,
like I said, I think we've moved on. I think we've moved forward. But I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, and I just last
hey, I just want to say I like Dawn Hub. Dawn Hub's funny. Hey, Dawn Hub, come and seriously, whenever we've got a show on, come and jump in my chat. It'll be fun. You'll have a good time.
Okay. So anyway, this is a genuine question. Is being an atheist in an atheist community been more freeing for you to be yourself?
Yes.
Okay, elaborate.
Yep. And my experience is different to others. I was in church leadership. So I had to smile and be nice to people I probably didn't want to be nice to, who I wouldn't normally associate with, just and purely because that was my job. You know, I think there's what we used to call church face, where everyone would smile. I think there was a lot of people, and you'd know within the church that you would have people smile and want to come up and have a conversation with you. And, you know, it was all just small talk. Whereas I think for me, in my personal experience within the atheist community, I'm probably having more genuine conversations. Now, that's not to say I didn't have genuine conversations. I had some extremely close friendships within the church, and I've got friends of mine who I spent years in church with who I'm still very close with. But you know, to answer your question, I'd say it's more freeing for me in the atheist community. Yeah.
So one thing I have down is that maybe two things actually. One is that there's less pressure because like this is one thing that atheists love to throw around. They love to throw around. They're like, oh, we don't have any doctrines, we don't have any books, you don't have any prophets, and yeah, that could actually be really freeing, right? It could be really freeing from you.
I know where you're going here. This will be good, but go on.
No, that's not taking a shot at it. I mean, I could just tell you from my own personal experience. Whenever I became an atheist and I moved to South Korea, it was like gloves off because I had to like pretend to be, you know, like my dad is a pastor. So I'll give you an example. Like one time, I was getting a hotel with this girl, and I walked into the hotel, and lo and behold, like the daughter, like the associate pastor is there, and I'm like, oh shit, she probably knows exactly what I'm here for, and I'm like,
she was probably there for the same thing.
No. I'm sorry. She was the counter. She was like, she worked the counter. And I was like, oh, I had a fight with my brother. I need to come. She's probably thinking like, you're outright bullshit. And so, yeah, it left me really on edge because I was doing all these things behind everyone's back. And even as like and I was just a minister, you know. This is a long time ago, but yeah, it put a lot of pressure on me. One, and then I was able to be myself over here in South Korea, just not have to worry about what my parents thought about me. So, I
Yeah,
think
look, I can empathize with that, because one thing, I didn't really change who I was when I was in church leadership, and I know a few people used to sort of scratch their heads a little bit, because a lot of people who are in church leadership where I was, they'd be very straighty 180, or at least they'd put that on. What happened behind closed doors was probably a very different thing. Whereas I didn't mind going down to the pub and having a drink. I'd go and hang out with the lads. I'd go and have a night out. It didn't bother me. In fact, if I had a night out,
cheers to that.
It was better for my skin. Absolute cheers to that.
Actually, hold on, say Kongbae. That's a Korean. Kongbae.
Slanjava.
There you go.
What I actually found is if I had a decent night out on the drink on a Saturday night, because I used to lead worship on a Sunday, it would do wonderful things for my voice on a Sunday morning. Because I don't know if you've ever sung, but when you're not really a morning person, you wake up and it's cold and you're trying to get your voice warm, not fun. Whereas if I had a decent night out, I'd be sounding like Barry White the next morning. It was sensational. I'd be up there going, I had the whole worship thing down pat. I'd be like, everyone, I can just feel Jesus is coming into the room.
Oh, God.
I'd have that real, we love you, Jesus. Down low as hell. It was great.
Right.
Couldn't do it now.
Yeah. Well, I know Aussies can drink, because I saw this article where at the soccer games, they were like, okay, Australian people are getting too drunk. And so they had to put a limit on how many beers the Aussies could buy. And the limit was 32. Like, what human being could go to a soccer game, a football game, and watch and drink 32? Like, I can't even see that unless you're drinking.
Well, you see, what you don't understand is at the football games or the soccer games, they only serve mid strength, so it's only really like having 24, which is it's nothing.
That would probably kill me.
I can tell you, I actually did the maths with a mate once. We actually worked out it was cheaper for us to get a corporate box, like going to a corporate box where they had free drinks, than go and sit out in the cheap seats and buy our own beers. But yeah, right. we've got a very strong drinking culture. In fact, the first currency in Australia was rum.
Oh my God, that's bad. That's how you know that you have a drinking problem. When the currency is rum. But okay.
No, we had a drinking.
So I do want to transition. I do want to transition to question 2. Is what advantages does a secular community have as opposed to a religious community?
None. There's no advantage to either community. There's good and bad in both communities. I know people who have. Look, I remember people who were in a really, really bad way, and then they found Jesus. Now, I don't believe that Jesus exists, but what the church community did for them was good, and I don't think they would go backwards, or I don't think they'd go back to their old lives, but certainly it had a good impact on them.
Right. Talk about that.
No, look, I don't think either. I think I'm not here to sell the atheist community, because at the end of the day, atheism is the belief that there is no God, or the position that there is no God. It's not a cult like Christianity, no, but it is the position that there is no God, and that's it. Now we form communities out of common interest. Now, there's different sporting teams. I mean, I don't know. Are you a soccer man? You're a football man? A baseball? What sport are you into, Isaiah?
Okay, so back
if you say no sport, I'm getting off this podcast right now.
Well, back in the day, I was like addicted to sports. Like my room was an entire shrine to the Chicago Bulls. And this was never Jordan was playing. So Jordan was like a god. So I was a fan of Scottie Pippen. And so, by the way, I remember you told me you like the Tennessee or the Bucks. You told me you like the Bucks, right?
What, in basketball?
No, in football. But I don't know.
Oh, the Buccaneers, yeah. Well, no, I'm a Tom Brady fan. So I was a Patriots fan, and then he went to the Bucks, and I became a Bucks fan. He retired from the Bucks, and I was looking for a team, and I'd kind of settled on the Dallas Cowboys actually. But then he announced he was coming back to play another season, so I'm a Bucks fan again.
Okay, all right. Well, the thing is, okay, so Derek Carr is from my hometown, and so I'm happy to go with the Raiders because I've always been a Raiders fan. But now Bakersfield, California, I know they just moved to Nevada, so I really shouldn't support them because they left California.
Right, so here's the point I was making. Mm-hmm. Is there any advantage to being a Raiders fan as opposed to a Newcastle United fan in the English Premier League? No.
It's because the Raiders suck. They suck every year. They let us down every year. So no. I gotta say no.
I'll talk to you about this. I'll talk to you about the Dragons one day. It's they're an Australian team. They break my heart every year. But look, I guess the point I'm making is we find communities with people based on common interests and things we have in common. Look, even you and I, we have a common interest in podcasting and YouTube. So we form a community there. So look, the atheist community and religious communities, realistically, there's good and bad in both. Now, there's certainly very damaging aspects to religious communities, especially I think for younger people, but there's damaging aspects to non-religious communities as well. Now, whether one outweighs the other, I don't know. That's up to the individual experience. For my experience, there's no advantage to either. I was quite content in fact, I probably had it better realistically when I was Christian, because I mean I was a pastor. Well, I'll take that back. I wasn't ordained, but I was in church leadership. I preached, I led worship. I did pastoral care. I'd studied a Bachelor of Theology and Ministry. So, I mean, for all intents and purposes, I was a pastor. So my experience within the church wasn't a negative one. My experience leaving the church was an extremely negative one. But my experience within the church wasn't a negative one. It was the only reason I left was because I didn't believe and I couldn't continue with something I didn't buy into anymore. That would be dishonest. Now I know there's a lot of people who oh god, the scummer. See this is, I'm gonna have to cancel Scummer after this. Anyway, he supports a bad team, so I feel sorry for him. He's see, this is what happens when you lose your train of thought. But no, look, I was quite content within religious communities, and it was to my benefit to stay there. I mean, the religious organizations I was with, I mean, had I stuck with it, I mean, all these years later, I mean, I would definitely be leading a church. I probably would have a book out, possibly a CD or two, because they have been released anyway without me. So I would have a very comfortable life. So there was no benefit for me to leave, and I was quite happy there.
Hold on, I do have a piece of advice for you though. If you release a book, make sure you release like a book with an American accent so the Americans can understand it, or at least put the R's at the end of words, because you just said care, and I was thinking, how do you actually spell that? Like K-E-H?
Care? It has a me on the end. You do realize
Where's
that,
the R? Where's the R though? You just totally neglect the R, the care. You got to put care on it.
Care.
Put care on care. So actually, this leads me right into the next question, because I do want to get on. We're only halfway there. But is it hard to connect to someone based off a lack of belief in something? Because I do have to tell you this, Chris. I find the atheist community to be bizarre in this respect, because I find it really strange that anybody would define themselves off of something that they don't believe in. So, as much as I don't believe in astrology or leprechauns, like I would never take that on to myself. So, it seems like you have to have something else that
and I see you completely chopped in and out there. All I heard was it went leprechauns. So can you start again?
Sorry. Yeah, I disconnected the cord. So I find the atheist community to be extremely bizarre, that anyone would define themselves by something that they don't believe in. So as much as I don't believe in leprechauns, I'm pretty sure they don't exist, but I don't know. I've never been to Scotland, so. Or are they from Ireland or Scotland? I don't know. I'm American, so I don't know geography.
Ireland, yeah.
Okay, Ireland. Well, as much as I don't believe in them, I would never define myself and join a leprechaunist groups. So I would never go to a leprechaunist convention or join a leprechaunist, Facebook group. So it just seems, for me, it's a little bizarre to define yourself by something you don't believe in. So it seems like you have to have something that you do believe in.
How many? Okay, well, but no, I'll answer that, and
good.
I'm going to answer it with a question. How many leprechaun churches do you have in the city you live in?
Korea?
Yeah. How many leprechaun churches are there?
As far as I'm aware of, 0.
Okay. How many people who are believers in leprechauns are trying to force your children to acknowledge there are lucky charms and gold under rainbows?
0.
There you go. Now let's flip that. In a Western country where Christianity has dominated for a number of years, Christianity does have a big cultural and political and societal impact. So it's naturally going to bring people together. But it's just like anything. When you have something in common, we form communities. It's what we do as a species. You form communities with people who have the same religious ideal as you. People who are Muslims, they'll form, do the same. People who like the same sporting team will form a community based on that. Look, I've got friends of mine who... what we have in common has nothing to do with religion or no religion. I have no idea whether they believe in a God or not, and it just wouldn't be an issue if they did.
Not relevant.
No, I mean, look, in a way, you and I have formed a community because we have a common interest.
Mm-hmm.
So people who have a common position or have a common experience. Now, in my case, where I came into it was my experience was quite a bad one leaving the church and the way I was treated. And I found other people who had a similar experience. Mm-hmm. We were able to talk about it and help each other through it. And that's where we form a community.
By the way, I'm not sure if I told you this, but I had to remind you. I had to remind myself to thank you for keeping the camera off, so I don't have to keep staring at your face. But that's a side point. But can you tell me about? It's only
because I'm sitting here in my underwear, so
So yeah, well, thank you even more. Then can I ask you?
I charge extra for that. So,
what was your experience in leaving? Like, did they go after you from the pulpit, or were they just really mean or rude to you?
People who I thought were very good friends of mine, I suddenly realized actually weren't good friends of mine. They were people who were hanging on to me because I had a position of authority within the church. Look, I had people who have shunned me, who would cross the road if they saw me coming. Now these are people who I was very close with, and like to the point where we would catch up on a weekly basis. I had a friend of mine who I was a groomsman at his wedding. He read a Bible passage at mine. I introduced him to his wife. And he absolutely blocked me. just completely. He sat me down and tried to reconvert me. Sorry, we also used to live together. Me and this guy used to live together.
Whoa.
When he needed somewhere to live, he came and he lived with me for a year.
A year.
Literally, I introduced him to his wife. In fact, who went to school with my wife. And this guy now, he just the last conversation we met at a cafe. He said, "I really want to catch up with you. I want to understand what's going on." I explained to him why I'd left, what the process was for me. And said, "But look, I mean, you and I are friends. We will always be friends. We have always been friends. Yes, we've got, church thing in common, but that doesn't mean that we still can't go out for dinner." What he did was he then said, as we were leaving, "Can I pray for you?" He wanted to publicly pray for me. I said, "No, I'm not comfortable with that." And he blocked me. Absolutely blocked me.
On Facebook or Twitter?
Yeah, Facebook. Stopped taking my calls. Would have nothing to do with me. And this is someone who I genuinely consider. I mean, like I said, I was a groomsman at this guy's wedding. He played a part in my wedding. He was someone who I had actually considered at one point to potentially be a godparent for my oldest child. We were very, very close. But the sad thing is, that wasn't the exception. That was the typical response I got. In fact, realistically, from my church days, there is probably 3 people who I was close with back then that I remain close with now. And one of them, it's probably because they're no longer in the church. And the others are just genuine friends who, one would love to see me reconvert, and but it happens. See, what I found was there was a couple of different. There was the people who just shunned me like that. Then there were the people who wanted to try and reconvert me. So they only stayed in contact because they wanted to reconvert me, because it's the big scalp to the pastor who left and became an atheist to get him back into the fold. It was like a big win for them. But the problem is, most of these people, I mean, what they didn't understand was I was leading them in church, and I understood and know the Bible better than most of these people. So they would try and throw things at me, and it's like, I had thought of these things. Look, if there was anything, I'd come back, and that I was very genuine about that. If there's anything, I will come back. Show me I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. I didn't want to be right. But people treated me so poorly on the way out. And what was worse was they did it to my wife and my children. It's people who had been friends with my wife stopped speaking to her. I had to try and explain to my young children why they weren't seeing their friends anymore, why their friends weren't coming over anymore. And that's a really horrible aspect of the church and some of those communities. So my experience within the church was great. Coming out of it, not so great. And it actually made me sort of look back and question, well, those relationships, that friendship I had, that guy who I was a groomsman at his wedding, was he ever really my friend? Was that 15 years of friendship, or was that 15 years of we had something in common?
Okay, so Chris, there's 2 things I want to ask you. First of all, I'm wondering if you could tell me, because you told me what happened, but can you tell me how that made you feel to go through that? Like just apart from factual, like what is the actual feeling as you're trying to process that or trying to explain things to your children?
It broke my heart. Absolutely broke my heart. Because I mean, look, I'm a big boy. I can deal with these things. And I'm pretty direct. I'll just go, well, you know what? That person was just an asshole, and they clearly weren't my friend to start with. And it's probably better I know now than spend another 20 years getting close with these people. And, well, I mean, the person, the one I'm highlighting, because that's probably the one that stung the most. That was 15 years of friendship. That was 15 years of friendship. And ultimately, because I no longer, something that was out of my control. I no longer believed what he believed, which I couldn't help. I didn't want to not believe.
Chris,
that was the, but that's something that unfortunately that wasn't the exception. That was the standard. And I'm talking about people who were just regular churchgoers, people in leadership. We're talking some, pretty well connected people within the church. It was not a good experience.
Yeah. Okay. So I totally get that, Chris. But a couple of things, okay? Because what it seems like you're saying, you're a big boy, but one of the things that gets you the most is never something's related to your child, your children. And I remember on our talk, you talked about how seeing your child for the first time was like a life changer for you, and it was for me too. I was divorced from my wife.
I think it's a life changer for anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
it should be.
It should be. I know a lot of people that are really horrible parents, but point is that I was divorced from my wife for 5 years because I wasn't a believer, was an atheist myself, and that I had the same exact experience as you. Let's just say that, and I will say this, that because I got shunned by my own mother. I mean, you think that's bad? I went home for Christmas, and my mom wouldn't even speak to me. She wouldn't even acknowledge me. And actually, my mom died 4 months after that fact. She died on my birthday in April. But so the last time what?
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you.
That's really sad.
Yeah, the last time I saw my mom, she wouldn't even look at me in the eyes. So I totally get that. But I do want to relate to you on something, because you've talked about maybe there might be some kind of inconsistencies between some of the things I've said and how I live out, maybe. But the reality is, though, is that a lot of that, and I've told you this in the stream, a lot of that came after atheists going after my daughter. You know what I mean? Like, okay, if you disagree with me, if you think I'm full of shite, okay, you can tell me, I could take whatever you have to throw at me. But why do you need to bring my daughter into this equation? You know what I mean? Why do you need to?
That's what assholes do. Because they got a rise out of you. That's okay. Look, but the thing is, okay, all right. Now I'll ask you this: is that the exception or the rule? I'm going to say it's the exception.
Okay, but the rule has been that atheists have absolutely shown me nothing but contempt and absolute hatred and disrespect online. And I would tell you this, Chris, because am
I here right now?
What?
Am I here right now?
Yes.
I'm not shunning you.
You called me Itangelo. I mean, I can forgive a lot of stuff, but compared to Itangelo, come on now, that's a low blow, Chris.
Well, I think at the time, it was justified. But like I said, we've moved beyond that, haven't we?
Yeah.
Let's not dredge up the past. But look, the thing is, okay, and you've mentioned this about your daughter a few times, and I know how I'd react in the same situation. I'd be ropeable. I'd be, yeah. I get how you feel as from one father to another. I get how you feel, but that's a couple of assholes online. That is not in any way, shape, or form representative of atheism as a whole, or even like 0.1% of it.
Well, but the thing is, you got to understand something. You see something as an insider, right? You don't know what it's like to be treated as an outsider from that group. So I don't know. I think if you
I reckon I know probably better than you might imagine what it's like to be treated as an outsider within the atheist community. I'm a conservative in the atheist community. How do you think that goes on Twitter?
They go after you?
Oh, hell yeah, of course. People will go after people. People are assholes. There's good and bad within all communities. Okay. And look, the atheist community, see, the thing is, people look at the atheist community as if it's this some small thing. Hell no. I mean, if you look at actual belief systems, atheism is number 3 in the world. There's more of us than there are Hindus. It'd be like saying that the Christian community and comparing your actions to the actions of some random Christian in Peru, or even looking at some of the Christian terrorist organizations in Africa and saying, that comparing you to that, it's not relevant, because there are good and bad within all communities, and the broader that community is, the more you're going to get. Look, atheism, there is 1 billion atheists or secular people in the world right now, and I can assure you that's not a representative community, in the same as Christianity is not a representative community. There's one thing in common in both of those. Christianity, there's the belief in Jesus, that he died on the cross and rose 3 days later. Atheism is the belief that or the position, belief, however you want to put it, that there are no gods. Or, whether it's a secular thing that, and actually Scummer puts a good point.
Who's Jimmy Snow? I don't even know who that is.
Mr. Atheist, Jimmy Snow, one of the biggest assholes that Zeus ever gave life to. Well, I was going to say that God ever gave life to, but I thought, no, you might take that the wrong way, so I threw Zeus in there.
Hey, Chris, but you do understand I'm not like a hard liner. You know what I mean? You do
realize I was being a smart ass there, don't you?
Yeah, I can laugh at irreverent humor. Like, actually, if you have a clever jokes, I'm totally fine with that. So anyway,
yeah. But look, when I first came into the community, and there's a video I've got on that for anyone who wants to go on my channel. Just Jimmy Snow, Atheist Pastor. I almost got cancelled out of the atheist, what I thought was the entire atheist community, before I even really got into it. So look, there's good and bad in all communities, but the point I'm trying to make is your experience with a couple of atheists. That's like me saying all Christians are like Darth Dawkins and Atangelo. And you would agree that is not representative. You agree that they're not representative of all Christians, correct?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, those assholes who went after your daughter, they were trolls who were trying to get a rise out of you, and you're still talking about it. So they got you.
Yeah, as a father, of course. I'm gonna call out the other atheists who, because you're absolutely right, Chris. I agree with that. There are total idiots on both sides. The issue that I've had is that I haven't seen atheists call that kind of behavior out. I mean, I will tell you this.
I'm calling it out right now. I know Godless Scummer has called it out when you've mentioned it to him. Oz has called it out when you've mentioned it to him. Any atheist, anytime you mention this, we call it out.
Well,
we say it's wrong.
That's
I reckon if you were to say to Oz, and I know, you don't like Oz, and I do.
Come on, don't say I don't like him. I don't say that. I pray for that dude. I love that guy. So don't put intentions or thoughts into my mouth.
I'm not going to put that into. I think we can agree that you two don't get along. Let's leave it. Let's put it that way. But the point I'm trying to make is that hey, if you bring that up, yes, we will say that is bullshit. That is wrong. That should not happen every time. And every time you've brought it up, people have said, yes, that's wrong. But that's not representative of the atheist community as a whole.
All right,
any more than Darth Dawkins is. It'd be like me saying, well, Isaiah, I won't have anything to do with Christianity because Darth Dawkins is an asshole.
You've literally said that name 10 times.
He's going to
appear behind me and kill me on camera in front of God and everybody to see.
And he hasn't shown up because Darth Dawkins fears the atheist pastor.
Oh God. Seriously though, I hate using that name.
I am his kryptonite.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, I do want to get on to the next question here. We have kind of a funny conversation here, but this is an interesting one because whenever I was an atheist, I had graduated from a Bible college, and I genuinely thought about either attending or starting an atheist church.
What's your favorite Bible verse?
Verse? I got it tattooed on my Timothy 6:8, right here. Having food and clothes.
So you have a different idea. So what was that? Ephesians 6:8?
Having food and clothes, let us be content.
Okay. See, I was always a Philippians 4:13 kind of guy.
Yeah,
I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. That was always my go-to. In fact, at my wedding, I actually had two friends of mine. They read the entire Philippians 4. Yeah, that was nice. But it's interesting.
Most widely misinterpreted and taken out of context scripture in the entire Bible. But okay,
which one? Philippians 4:13.
Yeah, because he's actually talking about being content in whatever circumstances that you have. So, for example, I have...
that's exactly what it means.
Let me finish. I have Timothy 6:8 here, and it says, having food and clothes, let us be content. So, for me, I derive contentment from knowing God and to having a relationship and doing my work here as a missionary. And so it doesn't come... I actually live in public housing here in South Korea. So that doesn't bother me one bit that I live in very meager circumstances, because I wouldn't trade circumstances for $1 billion. You couldn't pay $1 trillion to leave here what I'm doing, because I believe in what I'm doing so much that it's worth more than anything in the world. But anyway, good.
No. I was just curious. I think you can learn a lot about a person from the Bible verse they like. I used to think that, but maybe I'll encourage you to have a look at Ezekiel 23:20 later.
All right, I'll take a look at it. But okay, so
write that one down. Read it later and tell me what you think.
Ezekiel what?
Ezekiel 23:20.
Okay, 23:20. I do want to get into the next question. We have 2 more questions here, but would you attend an atheist church?
Probably
like a church, like a bunch of atheists.
No, look, probably not. Not regularly, I guess. I just don't see the point.
Neil 604 Atheist had the best. 604 Atheist? He's under the Commonwealth with you, but he said that he would attend if the people paid him the 20% tithe.
Hey, look, if I was running it and getting the tithe, maybe that's a different story. Look, I know, and his name completely. I can't think of his name. He was a former preacher who left the church. He actually wrote a book about it, and I've read the book.
Dave Warnick?
No. Oh God, I've got it on Audible.
Dan Barker?
No. It's one of those ones.
Dillahunty.
Sorry?
Dillahunty.
Oh God, no. No, I wouldn't be quoting Dillahunty. That guy's a dickhead, in my opinion. I see. There you go. There's a difference within the atheist community. I'm not a fan in any way, shape, or form of Matt Dillahunty. I don't know if he's. Sorry, probably shouldn't call him a dickhead because I don't know. He's probably a very nice person.
You might be one of the 8 people watching, so watch yourself.
Well, look, if he is, he is. Jerry DeWitt, I'm talking about. Jerry DeWitt. He's he started an atheist church, and I think that was more to fill a gap, and I think there is a place for people who have left religion, who need that routine and who enjoy that sense of community that in I guess the style of a church. But for me, no. Look, I'm not going to lie. I enjoy my Sunday sleep-ins.
Would you give? So maybe the atheist church would meet like at 1:00 in the afternoon. But would you ever give a secular sermon, like a sermon with principles based in like secularism or humanism?
Well, look, I mean, it's a lot of the sermons that you give are essentially there's a method to the sermon that you give, and you've got the point that you want to make. So you always write the conclusion first. You always know the point you want to get to. then you write the introduction, so you know how you're going to start it, and you fill in the rest. So you could do a secular sermon in the same way as a religious sermon very easily. The only difference would be at the end and at the start, you would have a lot less Jesus, and certainly you wouldn't be using any Bible verses in between. But yeah, it wouldn't be too hard to. It's just a motivational speech half the time.
Motivational speech. So, okay. All right. That's fair enough. Finally, I think I have the last question here. But what do you miss most about the atheist, or I'm not the atheist church? What do you miss most about church in general? Oh, by the way, and I will say one thing about the atheist churches. I think one thing that they miss is like someone teaching like ethics to their children, because I heard this story of like this lady who was a Catholic, and she wanted to become an atheist, but she would literally drive her daughter to church and just wait out in like the parking lot, and because she wanted her to learn or just be educated. At least I'm not exactly sure what the motivation is, but I think having something for your kids to do like that, and I do think Christians can learn a lot from secular morality. I really do. And from a,
I think we can all learn from each other. Instantly, sorry, really quickly, I want to say, because I see the chat is going pretty crazy. If anyone does have any questions, I'm happy to stay back and answer any questions afterwards. But sorry, I guess to get to you, we can both learn from each other. I would have no issue using lessons from the Bible. Look, I'm not one of these people that's going to say, oh, the Bible's this evil book and it's all terrible and there's slavery in it and stuff like that. I know that there's good lessons to be learned out of the Bible. If my children suddenly decided that they wanted to go to church, I would take them to a church. It wouldn't bother me. Look, there's it's the Christian church and the Bible have had a massive impact on the society that both you and I are a part of, the Western world, and that's whether atheists like it or not. It's a reality, and there are some decent lessons in there. Turn the other cheek, do unto others as they would do to you. The lesson about wolves in sheep's clothing. Certainly a lot of the parables. I think Jesus, if he, I think that some form of Jesus may have existed, not necessarily like in the Bible, but certainly the character is not a bad character. He's a decent person. I think there's decent lessons that can be learnt there, and I've got no issue with that. I think that there's good secular principles that can be applied in Christian circles, and certainly I know that secular principles were used in sermons. Certainly, I was a part of, and we would use the world around us to discuss what was going on. There's no issue with either of us recognizing that there's good in what the other's position. I think there's also there's bad. There's bad in secular. There's bad in religion, and there's no issue with us being in the same society and a very global society, drawing on lessons. I think there's potentially, and I've never really looked into it, but there's probably lessons that could be learned from the Quran, the Book of Mormon, the Bhagavad Gita.
Really?
It's one of my good mates, Jay. He's a Buddhist. And he's always dropping Dalai Lama stuff, and I'm always giving him a hard time about it in jest. But look, there is good in and good moral. Well, from my opinion, morals, because I think morals is certainly something that is subjective. There's good morals that can be found all around. Now, you say that there's no ethics taught. I disagree. I think ethics is. I know here in ethics taught to children. Ethics is taught to. I know that we have ethics classes for those who don't want to do scripture here in Australia, it's a common thing. And I think that we as parents, assuming you're a decent parent, which I think you are, and I think most people are, you do pass on your values and your morals to your children. Now, whether that's through a religious foundation or whether that's through any other foundation, naturally we pass our values on to our children.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a good one. Wow, thank you for sharing that.
Oh, he's frozen. Hang on. Yeah, I'm looking at the feed, and he's frozen. So I might actually have control of the podcast here. This is interesting. So, okay, well, while he's frozen, if anyone's got a question, throw it. Oh, hang on, he's moving again. He's back. You're back.
Oh, Chris, you have more experience doing this than I do. So
we lost you there for a second.
I do want to wrap.
You froze. Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to wrap this up here because we are coming on the top of the hour. There's been too many. Yeah. I need to get a someone who controls the, what do they call it? A producer. But actually today, just today I had a conversation with my other American co-host, who's his name's Kaz. He has a couple of atheist talk shows or whatever. But we were talking about secular parenting, and I think that he was talking a lot about trying to understand and explain the ethics to his children, and using using philosophy and logic to do so. And I think I have a lot of issues. I mean, Chris, this is generally speaking. I just genuinely want you to know this. This isn't trying to appease you or any other atheist. I have more issues on average with Christians than I do with atheists. That's legitimately. I'm being 100% legitimate. And I definitely do think Christians can learn a lot from atheists. You mentioned about Jay. Man, I've learned from so much. Some of my best friends are Muslims, and I've learned from them. I've learned from people who are Hindu. I've learned from children, I've learned from children in Haiti after the earthquake. I've learned lessons on the side of the road, places with people who were absolute desolate, who didn't have two nickels or two gourds to rub together. And so, if we're open, this is legitimately my opinion on this matter. I'm gonna wrap up right now, but my idea is that we're on this planet. I was an atheist at a different time than you. Probably whenever you were a Christian, I was an atheist. So we're crisscrossing paths here. You know what I mean? At different stages, we might be more aware of something and have some kind of deeper introspection.
So if I go back to the church, you're in trouble, mate.
What was that?
So if I go back to the church, that means you're in trouble.
Yeah. Good one.
No, look, it's interesting. I think we do have a similar experience, but maybe mirrored. Can I ask you a question though? I'd like to ask you a question. What have you learned from this conversation today?
Probably that I shouldn't paint with such a broad stroke with atheists. Probably you're not as big as what word can I insert here? Well, I guess I got to humanize you a lot more, because honestly, the kind of stuff that you were saying about me was just so inaccurate, and so like the things that you were saying was like, I'll willing to grant this, that there's miscommunications where I can understand about half the words you say because you never pronounce the R's. So I'll grant that there's some stuff that maybe just cultural miscommunication. But the stuff that you were saying about me was completely, absolutely like inaccurate. I'm not a fundamentalist. I'm not a hardliner. I'm not someone who desires to go after and hurt people from the LGBT plus community. We support an LGBT anti-bullying campaign here. And so, but I think listening to you and kind of understanding maybe some of the motivations behind maybe some of the things you might have said, I've definitely been able to humanize you a lot more. I was actually really shocked whenever the things you posted on Twitter, like you didn't know how this would go. I was genuinely looking forward to having an open and honest conversation. And do you believe that we had that?
I'll have to teach you about how to promote a show later. That was more promotion than I knew this would be a decent conversation.
What was more promotion?
Well, you know, it's if I put, I'm going to have a nice, friendly conversation. No one's going to come watch.
Okay.
Let's say this could go either way. And
Yeah.
look, I did come in sort of going. Look, I came in with the attitude of, if you were going to have a reasonable conversation, I was going to have a reasonable conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If you had have gone down the atheism is a cult,
I've explained that to you already.
Then let me tell you, it was on. So it could have gone either way, but it has been a reasonable conversation, and I'd like to think that hopefully by having a conversation with me, maybe it softened your heart a little bit to why atheists, I guess why the atheist community you've come across is defensive at times. Why, you know, people don't necessarily want to have conversations with people of, you know, particularly the Christian faith, because of experiences that they've had. Hopefully it's given you a better understanding, and hopefully it helps you to engage, maybe not differently, but helps you to engage better with the atheist community, in the same way that maybe this conversation will help me engage better with the Christian community.
Well, you know, Chris, just on a personal level, and I sent you a picture of me sending my packages out to 12 atheists who have trusted me with their addresses from this podcast. So, you know, like on a personal level, when I'm dealing with
atheists, just like free shit, to be honest with you.
They like, I've sent them some really cool Korean gifts. But the thing is, as far as I'll be very honest about this. When people went after my daughter and said stuff like she was going to grow up to be a prostitute, she wasn't my child, I should get a paternity test, she was going to grow up to have guys running gangbangs on her. When they said that, those kind of things about my daughter, my willingness to sit down and have like at least written conversations, because I understand whenever you don't have to see someone, it's a bit of different story, right? You can say, and I'll admit, I can fall into that. You can write whatever, chuckle, and get off. But whenever you have to see someone face to face and say that, it's a bit of a different story. And I think that's one of the.
Okay,
one of the most, hold on. I'm talking, Chris. That's one of the most dangerous things about.
Me.
That's one. No, I haven't muted you yet. Don't piss me off.
No. I do need to ask you an important question, and there's a reason I interrupted. There's a reason I interrupted.
Okay. Well, good. Since you've interrupted, go ahead. Take it over.
What country were these people from?
I have no idea. It's on Discord. I will never go to Discord again.
How do you know they're atheists?
Because I was in an atheist group. I mean,
okay, are you an atheist?
Okay, Chris, I do want to. I got on to have some genuine conversations with people online, and if you disagree with something that they say, I didn't even know what this word meant. They called me a cuck. Apparently, a cuck is a guy who likes to have guys have sex with their wives. And I'm like, I didn't even know what that word was, much less being one. So it's like, what does it have to do with anything? So as far as the online, like the groups, I will not engage in any more talks. Now, one-on-one, I absolutely love to have conversations and learn it from people. But yeah, I have nothing but disdain for those kind of groups. So, I mean, Twitter, all that, I'm done with it, you know? I really am, because you could attack me till you could insult me. My lips deformed. I'm bald. I'm fat. You could go after me all day long. I'm good at that. You go after my daughter, it's a totally different game. You know, that's a different territory. So, anyway, do you have any last thoughts, Chris?
Yeah.
It's the top of the hour.
So okay. So what I would like to, I'm going to prove a point to you. I just need 2 minutes to prove the point to you.
Hold on, Chris. Hold on. I want to interrupt you like you interrupted me. Okay, sorry. Good.
Yeah, go for it.
Good. Floor's yours.
Okay. What I was going to say is, if there's any questions from the from the chat, I'm happy to answer them right now. Just while I just want to prove a point. But if there's any questions from the chat, if you want to throw them at me, I'm happy to do that. I just need a minute to do something.
Yeah, please.
So any questions? I'll let you lead this, Jose, because I'm not actually looking at the screen right now because I'm just quickly doing something.
I haven't been really following, but I will say this, that your links are in the description. So Chris, I've apologized to you on other podcasts, but I do want to apologize to you on this podcast because you did invite me into your fold, and I did let my instincts get the better of me, my paternal instincts get the better of me, because again, it's a different story whenever you go after someone's daughter. You know what I mean? I can trigger a response that, like, I would like literally kill myself just to save my daughter. You know what I mean? So it's like it triggered a beastly response out of me. That's all I'll say. And it's not right. And you invited me to your place, and I actually enjoyed my time on Six Pack. I've interviewed God. I've interviewed a Scummer. I've interviewed Matt. So I appreciate you inviting me into your fold. That's all I'll say.
Look, yeah, I mean that's something I think we've moved past.
Sure.
And I appreciate the apology.
I apologize.
And like I said, it's one thing to apologize. I think actions speak louder than words. So far, so good. And I couldn't prove my point because it's not working for me. But okay, so the point I was going to make is I can jump on here right onto this conversation, this stream right now, and I can type anything in the chat and say that I'm a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm clearly not one. People who go in, especially Discord, you get trolls in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know atheists who will go and troll Christians. Christians will troll. It's the internet is a cesspool. But what you're doing is, and this is some advice I'm going to give you, and whether you take it or not is up to you. You keep going back to what these assholes on Discord said about your daughter. Every time you mention it, they win because you're still talking about it. You are still talking about it, and it is having a profound impact on you. Now, if we were in the church, what I would say is you need to give that to Jesus. Give it to God.
Wow. Let
him deal with it. Okay? Now, if that's how you want to deal with it, I think that could be a good thing for you. Give it to God. Give it to God. Let God deal with that, because at the end of the day, you're still here talking about it, and it is having an emotional impact on you, and it's sitting on your heart, and you can't let go of it. But the thing is, you don't know who those people were. They could have been some anonymous 14-year-olds sitting behind, knowing that they would get a rise out of you. And because they got a rise out of you, what they do is they just go more and more extreme, more extreme and more extreme. That's what they do. That's what these assholes do on the internet. I mean, my attitude is I just tell them to F off and ignore
bugger off. Bugger off. That's the right word. Yeah. Bugger off.
Bugger off. Yeah. Which ironically means technically the same as F, but anyway, it's just in a different spot. But that's it.
Americans don't Google what he just said right now, but okay.
But you can Google if they want. Maybe it's their thing. That's all fine. But look, the point I'm making is, look, you keep talking about this. I think you need to move on, and I think you need to understand there are trolls on the internet. They got you, and if they knew you were still talking about this, they would just be, they're winning. Why the hell would you want these assholes to win? I think it's time for you right here, right now to go, you know what? I'm going to move forward from this. Whether you want to, if you want to give it to God, give it to God. If that's what's going to work for you. If you're in a secular community, I'd say, you know what? It's just time to just wash it away, wipe it away.
Or give it to Marx.
I'll give it to Ra. He's producing stuff. No, that's a joke, by the way.
Give it to Darwin.
But But look, I think you need to move on from that. If this is something that's happened and it's impacted you this way, move on, because why talk about it? Why give them the power? You're giving them the power. Don't give them the power.
Well, I've definitely learned a lot from you then. That's all I have to say is thank you. Thank you for joining me. Are you back on with Hereticals or Six Pack?
Yeah, look, here and there. It's I'm going to do more podcast style things where I probably have more one-on-one conversations. It was getting a little bit hard to get everyone together on a Friday night. But was there any questions that anyone wanted to throw at me just quickly while I'm here?
I've honestly been so caught up in the conversation, I haven't really been checking. So I do apologize for that. Yeah,
I think I did see someone ask why I walked away from Christianity. I think it might have been Dawn Harbour if I'd come to the conclusion. Yeah, I came to the conclusion that Christianity is false. Pretty simple. I wish I hadn't come to that conclusion, but I worked out it was, because there's some things that are inconsistent in the Bible that that, as far as I'm concerned, absolutely prove it's false. It's not a case of it's just a lack of belief or any of that kind of soft atheist bullshit. I will sit here and say that it is false. I do not believe it, and my position is there is no God.
All right. Well, that being said, we can find you. How can we find you online?
Actually, there is a question. I have seen this question thrown a couple of times, so I'm going to keep you here for another minute from Bearded Heretic. And it's a question for both of us, and I think it's a good question. Do we think that religious and atheist communities can coexist without tension? What would be needed for this to happen? I mean, my answer is yes, they can, and conversations like this.
Well, I told you this morning, which was last night in America, I listened to the podcast from whatever and it actually has the funniest title. It's called it's like "Fuck Off with Your Sandwich," and it's about like Christians working together with atheists to like feed homeless people, and trying to understand. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, there's a lot of people hurting right now. And for me as a Christian, I don't want to contribute to anyone hurting, right? So whenever there are issues to talk about, even when we disagree, I genuinely, not that I always live up to this, but I genuinely think that we have to see something so much bigger than a difference, which is the survival of our humanity. And so right now, actually, as we literally in this conversation, I'm putting the last touches of a book on race that I have to thank you, because via God, which is Grumpy Old Dude, he introduced me to Jeff Scoop. And so I've been doing a lot of work with Jeff Scoop's organization, which is one of the 5 organizations we support here. So I've got a chance to do the podcast to send him out a lot of equipment and suits and ties and shoes and stuff so that he could do his speeches and such. But the proceeds of this book are going to that organization. I'm donating all the proceeds from this book. But it is a matter about recognizing that, like, race, ironically, in English, means the same thing as like an actual competition. And we have to stop seeing that as like a competition. I don't believe that I'm more moral than you. I don't believe that I'm more ethical than you. I'm definitely better looking than you. But all of things being considered,
you wouldn't let me come on camera. I think you're a friend. So.
all things being considered, we're here, and this is why I actually got deeply. I was somewhat triggered and saying, why don't I have these conversations? Because whether or not you like it, we're stuck on this planet, like, together. So in an ideal world, I would gather up all of the atheists, put them on a ship, and send them off to like Mars or wherever Elon Musk wants. I think that guy's an atheist too, but just send you guys all off to Mars or whatever. There's 1 billion of you guys there, so I don't think we're going to get enough ships to send you all away. So in the meantime, like, we got to live together here on this planet. And so I would say that's just the thing that we can rally around, So that's all. That's the last thing I have.
And you know what? I mean, for me, it's yes, that's right. You're a funny man. For me,
apparently not a funny joke, but it was a joke nonetheless.
It's okay. What people do or don't believe happens to them after they die really doesn't bother me. You can believe whatever you want. What I care about is who you are as a person here and now, and the impact you have on the world here and now. Now, I have a lot of issues with what organized religion does. In particular, what happens with people who leave, and that's based on personal experience. I don't like the way children are treated within religion. I think telling a child that if they're bad, they're going to suffer and be tormented in hell, I think is horrible. Yeah, I think that's
trans.
I get
that.
If there was a God, which there isn't, but if there was, I mean, that God would have created everyone as they are. That wasn't me telling a joke. That was me stating a fact.
The omniscient Chris, who knows that there's not a God. Thank you for that piece of that nugget of truth there. Okay. But
I'm glad I'm able to enlighten you.
So one last thing, I will say this because like the last chapter of the book that says this. Literally, this is like the last section, and I will send this to you. But it says, look, there's two possible scenarios with this. Either there's a God out there or there isn't, okay? And both of these scenarios can be used to justify humanitarian and toxic, abusive behavior. That's the reality. That knife can cut either way. And so it's basically like, look, we're here on this planet. It's mostly based on race. Religion does come up a tiny bit, but it is more of like, hey, we may be like different shades of this family tree, but we all have the same roots. You know what I mean? Whether or not you believe in God or not, we all have the same roots either way. If Adam existed or he didn't, or if Lucy is the mother of us all, we all have the same ancestral roots. So
see, racism makes no sense to me. Because I mean, it's for those who don't know, I'm a historian. It makes no sense to me because, I mean, the human race has been around for a long time, and 6,000 years ago, the inhabitants of Europe and anyone who was white. Their ancestors were not white. Let me assure you, it's farming habits and climate that lighten the skin. I mean, we are all the same race. We all came out of the same spot. We're all, we all wiped out the Neanderthals and the
the Aborigines.
No, the Aborigines are still around, mate.
Well, most of them, okay.
No, there's still plenty of Indigenous Australians around. It's a lot of them did die. But no, there's very much a thriving culture, Indigenous culture in Australia.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
But I guess the point I'm making is
I didn't take a shot at Australia. I had to throw out a little missile at Australia. So.
Okay. Yeah. Don't throw those ones.
I had to stop messing with the atheists and just go after the Aussies with your weird accents and your Joeys and your boomerangs and your Fostas and your blokes and your Outback Steakhouses. But I'm sorry. Go ahead. Last thought, because I got to wrap. It's like an hour and a half now. Let's wrap this up. I like you, but not this much.
See, this is an hour and a half. We're just getting started on my channel. I just well, for a start, we don't have Foster's here. No one drinks that, and I think there's 3 Outback Steakhouses in the country, and they're kind of a bit weird because it's an Aussie themed restaurant in Australia, and it's like an American version of an Aussie themed restaurant, and it's just
there's no boomerangs, and there's no boomerangs.
Boomerangs, yeah, we've got boomerangs.
And there's no Crocs, and there's no kangaroos, and there's no koalas, right?
We got all those things.
Crocs
are a shoe, but that's another story.
I'm winding you up.
I guess. Look, my final thought. I know that looking at the chat, most of the people already know me and know who I am, what I believe. I guess for those who don't, if you're a Christian, what I would encourage you to do is have kind of conversations with atheists. Don't treat atheists poorly. Treat them the way that you would want to be treated if you had a reverse journey or had the same journey. And don't try and reconvert them with every conversation. If you have a friend who is an atheist, just be their friend. Mm-hmm. What they do or don't believe shouldn't matter. And look, if there is a God, well, there's not really much you can say. It will be up to God to reveal to that person and put on their heart what the truth is. And fortunately, for me, it's I quite comfortable to say that I'm pretty confident I know what that truth is.
By the way, what is a drop bear? I don't know what that is. A koala?
Oh no, drop bears. They're a big problem here in Australia. So the reason they're called drop bears is because what they do is they sit in trees.
Koalas.
They're a variation of the koala, but they're sort of koalas. See, koalas eat gum leaves or eucalyptus leaves, and the eucalyptus leaves has a doping effect on them. But generally, they're actually which sort of makes them a placid animal. But naturally, they're not a placid animal. So because of the introduction of a lot of non-native plants, when the koalas get up them and that becomes their food source, they don't have that sort of that relaxing effect that eucalyptus would give them.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they're called drop bears is because quite literally what they will do is the way that they hunt their prey is when they walk under a tree or under the branches and the leaves, because we've got fairly big trees here, they drop. So a drop bear, I don't know why you're laughing, mate.
I'm imagining a koala dropping down, like, because we think of koalas, they're all like, because I've heard koalas actually have the claws. They're really like dangerous.
Oh,
right?
they're horrible. They're horrific.
Right, I've heard that. I'm just imagining somebody getting killed by koalas. What did I have?
So look, it's I mean and the thing is, people don't realize, but whenever you come to Australia, and if you ever do visit, you've got to be really careful. Don't pause under trees. You always sort of need to look up and just keep an eye for if there's any rustling, because if you get a drop bear, they will do damage. I mean, look, it's probably, I say it's probably, people have died from drop bears, but look, they're probably going to do you more damage. They're going to claw the shit. They sharp bite. Like it's their teeth. I mean, they're a bear. They're a bear, but they're a solid bear. They're a short, solid, like they're
koala bear.
Or yeah, well, a slightly bigger version. They're a slightly bigger version. The koalas, they've got the blunted teeth, whereas the drop bears are more carnivorous. So they've got the sort of like the canines, and certainly I'd rather run into a koala than a you can cuddle a koala. You don't cuddle a drop bear. A drop bear will slash. It will bite. It will. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're a real big issue that we've got here. Drop bears. And
that are the crocs.
Crocs are only up north. They're fine. But look, if you ever do come to Australia, your best bet is just. The locals will always tell you. You just say, "Look, is there anywhere? What areas do I need to watch out for the drop bears?" And they'll say, "Don't go down that street because there's potentially, there's a couple that have been up there."
You're being serious.
If you go down that way, you're fine.
Are you pulling my leg, or are you being serious right now?
This is not a joke. These things are friggin' vicious.
Okay, all right. All right. Well,
you're asked how many deaths from drop bears in the last year. It was probably about a dozen, if anything. It's not huge numbers, but.
With people, you're talking about humans dying.
Yeah, so we had a big problem.
Wow.
I'm surprised you didn't hear the news because we had a few American tourists that because as locals we're used to it, and the thing is we'd be telling people and they'd be going ha ha ha, like no, it is a serious issue that we've got here.
Holy shit! Hold on, I'm sorry, I just looked up one of these things. Oh my mother of God! I thought you were joking me. I genuinely thought that you were. I gotta put this right now. I thought I can wind you up this whole time, but no. I'm gonna put one picture and I'm gonna. Yeah, you have you been attacked by one?
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, I missed what you said there. You chopped in and out.
Have you been attacked by a drop?
No.
Okay, is this CGI?
No, that's pretty accurate.
CGI?
No, they've got the canines.
Whoa! Wow, that looks scary. All right, Chris. Well, I have to pack because I'm going to Seoul tomorrow. I actually got cast, if you could believe it or not, to play a historical not Peyton. Peyton's the main guy here in South Korea, or McCarthy, a general. And so tomorrow I'm going to Seoul to play a general in some kind of like historical reenactment. So I got to get my place packed up here and head there.
No,
so I definitely do want to thank you for your time. I'll have to have you on for round 2. Actually, I guess that would be
Sure.
around 4 or 5. I don't know. I've been on.
Actually, this is the first time I've been on your channel. So
right. Well, that's true. We did meet up on yours a few times, but yeah, thank you. I do want to play this outro, and this is our website, www.rhepodcast.com. Special thanks to Godless Scummer right there. We definitely wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for Godless Scummer. So we owe him a great deal of gratitude for. You talked about having conversations, and he opened up the avenues to have these conversations, and so we would be remiss to not give him a great big thank you, because he didn't have to do that, and he did, and I destroyed him in our debate, but that's another story. And I just want to leave this outro, and thank you for joining us. Check us out again. If you're not subscribed, please do so. And Chris, as you say, good day, mate, and let's put another shrimp on the bloody Bobby chop.